It's time to get started with the Weld webinar on interactivity and how to use the action blocks in Weld to create animations and other forms of interactivity. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see me. I'm going to also make my cursor a bit bigger so it's easier to follow what I do. All right. Okay, are you, Andre, are you posting on Buffer and in the event group stuff? Yes. So, this is a short webinar on the action blocks in Weld and how you use them to build interactivity. I'm going to take it on a fairly basic level. The prerequisites for this seminar is mainly that you have used Weld to some extent before, that you have some experience of the editor in Weld. But apart from that, we're going to keep it basic. So to start off, I'd like to just talk about the general concept of action blocks in Weld. It's important to, I think, to understand how action blocks work. Here I have a project. I'm gonna just add a button. And action blocks in Weld are always attached to an object on the canvas. So you can't put action blocks on the background screen, for instance. Right now they're always attached to an object. So I have to select an object and then click Actions down here in the toolbar to open up the Actions panel. And here's where I add the action blocks. And there are two main types of action blocks. There are so-called trigger blocks. And trigger blocks are, for instance, click, hover, scroll, and app start. But they are a bit dependent on the type of object that you're interacting with. So for instance, if I have an input field here, that one also has the change value trigger, because that trigger will fire if the input in this text field will change. So it's a bit different depending on the kind of object you are working with. So back to my button here, I have click when I click on the button. I have hover when I hover with the mouse over the button. I have scroll, which is a trigger that fires when you scroll a certain distance down the page, and I have app start, which is fired first when the website or app starts. So once I add, I'm gonna. Okay. But so we have some sound issues, but you had sound before, right?
Yes, I did.
But not anymore?
No. And I don't have that option anymore to...
What, can you disconnect and reconnect and do the mic thing? See if...
Yes.
Everything looks good. Mic is on. And try reconnect, disconnect, reconnect. My sound's clear. For me it's okay. Okay, so can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Andre? So you haven't pressed the mic and speakers button yet? Can you hear me? It looks like I have an icon at least. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, good. So I think it's working. So back to that. So once I add the click object, I'm going to remove it and add it again. So when I add the click action block, I suddenly get different others action blocks here, and these are so-called actions. So the green ones are triggers and the other ones are actions. Triggers is a block that will capture something happening and then launch a sequence of other blocks. So for instance, action blocks include animate, if I want to do animations on screen. I also have reset and pause that are also part of animation. I have calculations to do mathematical operations. I have change text if I want to manipulate text, like making text lowercase, uppercase, split it, different things like that. I have an if block if I want to do something conditional, like if something is true, then do this. I have a filter block that's more complex. We're not going to go into this in this seminar. And then I have the get value and set value blocks for inputting, fetching values from, for example, a text field and setting values in the text field with the set value block. I also have blocks for showing a simple pop-up message, going to another screen or page, and opening a website. And when you see go to screen, open a website, you may think that sounds like just plain linking. And the fact is actually that linking in Weld is powered by the action blocks. So if I do this, if I click the link button and I make it link to screen 3, for instance, you see it was automatically updated here with a click, trigger, and then go to screen. If I erase that, press link again, external website, go to www.weld.io, I get a click block and open website block. So the linking in Weld is powered by action blocks. So you may have been using action blocks without even knowing it, basically. But we're going to do a very simple hello world here. So I'm going to do, on the click, I'm going to do a pop-up message. And I'm going to erase, I'm clicking on the block to open the properties. So I can click on the block and open and close the properties. Some blocks have optional properties that you can open with this little arrow down here. This one doesn't have any. I can erase this. It says previous, which means basically take the value from the previous block. And we're going to get into examples where we use that. But for now, I'm going to erase that and just say hello world and press enter. So now I have a super simple script of action blocks. So now if I go into preview mode, clicking the play button, and I press on the button here, I have hello world. So that's a super basic example. So we're going to do a slightly more complicated example now. And that takes us into the concept of set value and get value. So for instance, let's say I have I want this name field here. I'm going to call this name, and I have a button, copy name, I'm going to call it, and then name field 2. So this is a very simple example, but basically I want to copy what's in the name box to the other name box when you click the button. So what I do then is I open the actions box. When you click the button, when the button is clicked, I want to capture the value in the name box up here. So to capture a value, I use the get value block. And the get value block, when I open it, I have a drop down here where you can select an object on the screen like this. But a simpler way of doing it is actually pressing this purple plus button that allows me to click on an object on the screen, and it tells me it's input 20. Okay, so now I'm capturing the value from the name field, but I want to output that into the second name field. So then I use the set value block. And I want to take the value from the previous block, which is the default here. So I'm just going to leave that as it is, and then output that into the next block. So I'm pressing the purple plus button, and then clicking on the second text field, like so. Henrik, wait, I think you can continue working. So now let's try this, see if it works. I'm going to enter a name here, Tom, and then press copy name. And then it copies to the second text box. So that's a very simple example. But maybe it's a bit cumbersome to click a button just to copy the name. Maybe you want it to happen automatically. So instead, I can click on the name field and open the actions box. And then you have the special change value trigger block. The change value block is only available for input fields, for sliders, for drop-down menus and so on that can actually change value. So this means when this object changes value, something will happen. And then I'm going to use the set value block. And compared to the previous example, I don't need the get value block, because already this is happening as a change on the first input field. So the get value block, I could use it, but it's redundant in this scenario. So instead, the change value block will trigger when it changes. It will feed the result into the next block, into the set value block. And I'm going to pick it up here with the reference to the previous block. And then I'm going to point to second name block. So input 33 will now take the previous value from the change value block. So as you build up a sequence of action blocks here, think of it as a flow when one block feeds a value into the next block. So you can build up fairly complex chains of blocks that sort of uses values from the previous interaction. So you could take, and we can try to modify this a little bit in a second. Take a value, modify it slightly, and then output it somewhere else. But this should be good to go. So I'm going to try this, and this time I'm just going to start typing. TOM. And as you can see, as I changed the value in the first block, in the first input field, the second updates as well. And this works for other types of fields too. So for instance, here's a slider. If I open the actions on the slider, it too has the change value trigger. I can do set value and point to this block. A footnote here. As you can see, the names are kind of boring. Input 33, slider 25, etc. And you may wonder, can I change the name to something more relevant? And no, not at the time, but we're working on it, so we'll be able to change the name, so you can have more logical names for objects on the screen. So this should be enough. So let's see what happens. Now when I slide the slider, the value from the slider changes here. And the exact value is actually something you can set as a property on the slider. Let's say I only wanted to go between 10 and 1 instead of 100. So now I have, it goes between 1 and 10. And you can apply this to drop-down menus and other kind of inputs as well. I can also use some other blocks to manipulate the values somewhat. So I'll delete the copy button for now and the slider, and we focus on the remaining fields. I'm going to open this up. So I have a change value and then the set value. Let's drop the set value block for now and insert a change text block in between. So I want to take the value from previous and just make it uppercase. So here are different options on the change text. I have uppercase, lowercase. Take the last characters, the first characters, split the text into multiple pieces, or combine 2 pieces into one. But here I just want to make it uppercase. And then I want to output the results into the second box. Let's see if I type now. Okay, so I typed lowercase, but the output was actually uppercase. So that's set value and get value combined with the change value trigger block. Now we're going to look into a powerful yet simple feature called the Animate block. The Animate block is allows you to animate your design from one state to another. And it can be used for very simple stuff. I'm going to draw just a button here. And when I click on the button, I want to make it bigger, for instance. So for instance, I add the Animate block. The Animate block has 2 buttons here, normal and animated. There's a bug right now where I don't see which state is active, but right now the normal state is active. So normal is normal, is that like no animation is happening. But when I click on animated, I have this green box appearing that says now editing the animated state for all objects. And all objects is important to note because the states I manipulate now are global, so they affect more than just the button, which means I can manipulate this button. I'm going to make it bigger, but I can also modify this image up here and make that bigger too. And when I'm done, I can press the done button here, and now I go back to the normal state. And opening up the action block again, I have normal and animated. Normal and animated. And when I preview this and I click the button, the animation happens. I can do a second button here. And I'm going to call that reset. And I'm going to do, when you click on that, I'm going to do reset animation. Reset animation has no options, no properties. What it does is it brings you back to the normal state, like before the animation happened with the Animate block. So clicking the button grows big. Clicking reset, it goes back to normal. I can also use the multiple animations and combine that with the pause block. So for instance, I could add a pause block. You input the duration in milliseconds, so 1000 means 1 second. And then I could trigger another animation. let's say I want it to move down a bit and turn green. And then go back. So normal, animated, normal, animated. And then I want to have a second pause, and then finally I wanted to reset the animation. Okay, so let's see what happens now. I click. So there was a little circle there. So animation, pause, animation. Animation, pause, animation. But having buttons that change size and colors are not maybe very useful. So I'm going to make a slightly more complex example. I'm going to do a hamburger menu. So to do that, I'm going to add an icon for hamburger. So this is going to be the button used to open the menu. Then I'm going to use the box tool here, put it in the background. This is going to be the main, the actual menu, making it white with a black border. And instead, I'm going to play with opacity and the size of the menu. So opening up the animation on the hamburger, pressing the animated state. I'm selecting the objects and resizing them. Oops. What? Why can't I resize? Let's see. Let's try again. I'm gonna try throwing away the animate block and doing another animate block instead, see if that solves it. Animated, and can I make it smaller? Yes, okay. So I'm making it smaller, and this one too. No, still can't resize that one. Some weird bug there, I can't resize, normally that works. I'm gonna change, select them and turn down the opacity down to 0 instead. Oh crap, no, I did it the opposite way. Okay, turn it back up. Because this is the open state, when the menu is open. I want it to be compressed and invisible when it's not animated, of course. So going back to the normal state. So here's where I want opacity to be 0 and size to be almost nothing. And in this state, I want the size to be big. Okay, let's see how this works. So normal, only the hamburger is shown. Animated, it text and the box is appearing. Let's preview. Alright, that works. And you saw it was a subtle animation. It was not just, it didn't just pop into place, it actually faded in and animated down a bit. So I think that's more beautiful. And you can use this in conjunction. Let's say you want the menu to open on one click and then close on another. That requires a little bit of tinkering, but you could involve using the if block. So let's say when I click on this menu, I'm gonna put the value open into this box here. So when I click here, it says open here. So now I can use the if block. So if I click, and if, here I can check in condition. So I want to check if this box equals open. So I remove previous from here and click on this box. So now it says input 27, and here I type open. So if this one equals open, then it will launch the next block. So right now, well, we don't have the concept of else, we only have if. So if this is true, then continue doing it, executing the blocks after. If it's not true, then stop execution of the following blocks. Let's say, so if this is open, I want to reset the animation to go back to the normal state. Let's say it might work just with this. Let's see how it works. Okay. It triggered, I think it triggered too fast. So let's see what happens. Let's see again. There it opens. I'm going to add a little pause there, I think, to give it some time, because what I think happened was that when it executed the if block, the value was already open. I'm going to add a little pause, give me short pause, and then I'm going to do the if block. If this text field is open, then reset animation. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, so what happened there, it opened and then it took a little pause and then it closed it again. So I think we need to do a little bit of tinkering, but you could achieve like a toggle button with the if block combined with set value here, and then of course I don't want this to be visible, so I could just make it hidden or turn down the opacity so you don't see it at all. Right, so that's the basics of what we're covering today. There are other blocks in Weld. For instance, you can send email, and you can send things and get information from servers. You can see some of the examples we have on Weld.io/action blocks. We have, for instance, a live weather app that uses Yahoo's API for weather data to fetch information on the current weather. So I selected Stockholm in the list. Takes a little while to get information from Yahoo, and there you go, mostly cloudy and 22 degrees. Whereas in Tokyo right now we have rain and 23 degrees. So you can do things with that. It's a bit technical, and we're working on simpler solutions to integrate data sources into your Weld app. But this covers the basics, and I hope you found it useful. And do you have any questions? Looks like Josser have a question. Okay, Josser, will you type a question or okay. If one button can have two animation functions. So yes, it depends on exactly what you mean by that. We had the example where before where I had multiple animations on the same button. So you can link multiple animations to each other and have like a sequence of animations after each other. But if you tell me more, I might be able to give you a better answer. All right. Feel free also to explain more what you about your question. In the meantime, what do you think, Andre? Anything we should demonstrate?
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah. If it's a toggle button that you want to do, that have two animations, you can do that. You saw I struggled a bit to get the toggle functionality to work with the properly, but it is achievable. I can explain also that you can have multiple events like this. You can have multiple clicks, and they can trigger multiple actions if you want. So I can make this one red or orange, whereas this click actually shows pop-up message. What happened there, if you saw that actually the pop-up happened before the pop-up comes up, it hasn't changed color yet, and then when I close it, continues execution and it turns orange. Right, but I think that's going to be all for now for today. Thank you for joining us. If you have any other questions, just click on the chat button up here in the Weld toolbar and you can talk to us almost at any time. Thanks again, and we plan to have a new webinar in 2 weeks, so see you then. Bye-bye.